So let me first introduce myself. My name is Chinmay. I head sales for APAC for Onebeat. So how many of you have by any chance heard of Onebeat before? Okay, few of them, right? So let me give you some background, okay, before we begin and dive deep into the organization. So all of you have a book on your table. Most of you have a book on the table. We unfortunately could only get one for each organization, but the book is out there in the market as well. Uh, Abhilash. So, hi. So, the book is called Goldratt's Rules of the Flow. So, like the name recommends, we come from the house of Goldratt Consulting. So, Goldratt Consulting is an organization from, that had introduced theory of constraints to the world. Okay, so TOC is a very popular theory in any supply chain environment, technically, and its history in India is such that way back in 1980s when the theory started getting popular, it was specifically, Abhilash, please help. Yeah. So it was specifically meant for organizations who only had issues in operations. So as a process, like the name recommends, theory of constraint, it says if we are working with an organization, the ultimate goal of that organization is to make profit. And any constraint that is not allowing you to make profit is what the theory, tries to improve on. It focuses on that constraint, it allows you to exploit it, it allows you to improve on it, solve it, and then look for another constraint that is again stopping you from getting profit. So a very popular book was written called The Goal, which I'm sure a lot of you might have read, and it derives from there. So Onebeat comes from the house of Goldratt Consulting. It was so the story of birth of Onebeat is such that Goldratt were solving challenges using processes everywhere. Our one of the first earliest projects in India was with the Tata Group way back in 2005, Tata Steel, which if you find the gold copies in India, it still has the foreword from the Tata Steel chairman, then chairman, and then we progress. So our first retail project in India was Chroma. So when we started working with Chroma and Titan Group, that's when we realized retail is a different ballgame altogether. Why? Because when the retailer opens multiple stores at multiple locations, the traffic is different and very unique to each location. So no matter how good you have planned your inventory, because the demand is extremely dynamic, it becomes a very important struggle for the retailer to ensure that the right product is available at the right place and at the right time. Plus, there are various dynamics the retailer himself goes through. Now, if you remember 2009 when Chroma began, it was one of the first organized retailers at that point of time trying to organize a retail structure. And since then, the journey just kept on going, correct? So that's how our journey began with them, and that's where Onebeat was born. We realized that there is a need for a tool in the market. So then after Chroma, we worked with Titan, Tanishq, the Aditya Birla Group for Max, and so many. So we today work with more than 70 plus brands in the country. But earlier, until 2019, our focus was more consulting driven. That let us help challenge the processes that exist in your environment. Once we resolve the processes, then we'll move to the helping, driving profits through the technology. That's how the process will. But until 2019, the school of thought, we also run the TOC ICO, where people can go and get TOC certifications. Using that, a lot of people started replicating the processes. What was missing was only the technology. Hence, we sidelined an arm. We built a product around whatever we had learned in all these years. And that product is today called as Onebeat. So today the product is accessible to any environment who is ready to do the process management on their own. We only try to tweak the relatability of the organization strategy to the tool, and the tool takes care of its own. So that has been our entire journey. Okay. So today we want to touch upon a very simple topic. Okay. What is it? It's called profit from precision and using tech to get inventory right. Now, my experience in retail, I have, because of the work I get to go to various events. And whenever we talk about these words called profit, every person has a unique definition to it. Do you agree with that? Like for example, I'll give you there's a very popular bookstore owner, okay, around 200 stores chain, very popular in India. Okay, that person felt that profit can only be derived if I get a good deal at the source. Rest of the profit, don't know, we cannot count on it. That was his perception about it, okay. But after a conversation, he realized that that's not the only way I can book profits. And this is where, as an organization, when it starts growing, because when we start a retail company, it starts with one store, and at that point of time, that theory is completely true. But as you keep expanding today, as you keep opening more store, that theory goes for a toss, because then you want profit from each store that you have opened. Correct? Because then at that point of time, only getting the right buy at the source is not the only challenge. Correct? And that's how we grow. Okay? So before I want to know each one of you and talk, but I have few slides and then we'll get into talking. Is that okay with all of you? Great. So let's see what is the first challenge that a retailer goes through. Okay? The first challenge is the struggle mentally about what am I looking for? Am I looking for growth or am I looking for stability? Okay. Now, how many of you, because you come from that, background, how many of you have struggled with this battle? Anyone would love to share? Yeah. Can I have a mic? Can you share a couple of, as in, what was the struggle or what did you think about?
Regarding the growth versus stability,
Yes.
in terms of stock or in terms of?
In terms of anything.
So, uh, when I came into the business, my family-run business, I was an engineer, and I had two things to take up. One is either should I grow or should I sustain the business what my family has built.
Correct.
So the balance between the growth and sustainability is a very important step ahead.
Correct.
Only if you sustain and only if you are stable, growth can happen.
Correct.
And the graph which I am seeing right away has the growth started only when there is a meeting point between the growth and the stability. So which means sustaining it is very important than growth.
Correct.
So
okay. Great. Anyone else would love to contribute on this? Okay. So I'll give you certain examples wherein I did not get your name.
Vishwanathan.
Vishwanathan. Okay. So Mr. Vishwanathan, what he pointed out is classic case of the struggle today. But if you actually open the news channel and look at what the people are today looking at, most of the countries in the game of valuations. I'm sure all of you agree with it. Okay. So there is a lot of emphasis given on growth. Okay. That's the story that is played today. But when you start looking at the stock prices shrinking down, the story turns. Why? Because investors or shareholders look at profitability more than growth. But this is a trap that everybody falls into. Now comes a very important question. Do we need growth? Yes, we need. We need sales, because until and unless my sales are going to grow, I cannot offer better margins to my customer. It's only when I reach a particular volume, I can play the value game. I can be more competitive. I cannot play the competitive game until then. But at the same time, if I'm compromising my cash flow, if I'm compromising my processes, if I'm building my structure without that stability, what is it going to impact into? It is going to impact that I have a good number of the number of stores, but I'm struggling at cash flow. I'm struggling at conversions. The bottom line will struggle, absolutely. And this is the vicious cycle a retailer falls into. Okay. Now let's understand, why does a retailer fall into this cycle? Because this is so true that it is so visible to the naked eye. Why does he fall into it? And for that, using TOC, like we said, we have identified 3 disruptions of change. Okay. What are these disruptions of change? So you can see, one is consumer personalization, one is the consumer's tolerance time, and the other is the product life cycle. Okay. Now let's dwell into this with a very simple example. Okay. If you remember, as a kid, when I used to go to a store to buy a pack of bread, there were only 2 breads available, which was milk bread and the other white bread. That too, I come from a very small town, there milk bread was not even available. It was the same sandwich bread that you would get. Today, if you go to a supermarket and you want to buy bread, there is whole wheat bread, there is brown bread, there is multigrain bread, there is sourdough bread. There are hundreds of varieties in breads. Why? Why? Because the consumer today demands options. He wants variety to choose from. He wants you to offer options. If you're not offering options, you're losing a customer. Correct? So is this a retailer that has changed or a consumer that has changed? It's a consumer that has changed. Who's getting impacted? Retailer. Now what is the retailer's challenge? To sell the same product, he has to offer more options. Earlier, I could keep 2 options and still get a sale. Today, I need to keep 4 options to get a sale. So what has changed at my end? My inventory. Now, where is the impact? Direct impact is on my cash flow. Why? Because to give more options, earlier I had to buy only 2 options. Let's say I buy 100 each, I'm sorted. Now, because I know I have to buy 4 options, I have to buy 50 of each. Then I'll be sorted. Now what has happened, if one product doesn't move in the way that I have thought of, my cash flow is stuck. I cannot buy 200 tomorrow again in the same ratio. I have to reduce, I have to increase. So the challenge begins here. This is the first challenge. Second challenge is tolerance time. Today we talk about, we proudly talk about living in an environment where a product is delivered within 7 minutes. Okay, we boast about it. Most of our friends who come from, who have spent their time in States or any other countries, the moment they come, the first topic we say that, hey, we get delivery in 7 minutes. And what has that happened? Today, I'm sure as retailers, if a consumer is coming to your counter, he's exploring a product. In apparel, if that person's size is missing, the sale is gone. The sale is gone. Because why? Understand why? Because today we live in an environment where even if we enter in a mall, the mall is structured in a way that if I'm entering a Levi's store, next to it will be a Pepe Jeans store, next to it will be a Calvin Klein. So I know my product or size will be available in the next stores. Because I had made my decision that I'll buy it now, I want it now. If I do not want it, it is a direct loss of sale. Okay, now let's have a word, let's think about it. How many of you feel that consumers, you can convince a consumer to buy another option if the option that you're looking is not available? You feel that exists today? Very rare, absolutely, okay. The number is shrinking. Why is the number shrinking? Let's understand that. What is the reason why that number is shrinking? Why does a consumer not want? One, because he knows if I'm not getting in the store, I'll get online. Okay, if I'm not getting it online, I'll visit a particular store, I'll get it. If not, now why? Again, the reason is today's consumer is more prone to Instagram, Facebook, social media. So they want everything now. The instant gratification has increased immensely to a level where if I'm not getting my size in a particular store, I'll stop visiting that store. It's to that extent. And this used to earlier only happen with pharmacies. That if I'm going with a prescription to a store and that store is not going to give me one drug as well, I'll not buy and I'll not visit that pharmacy again. This person doesn't have stock. But today that has been happening with so many fashion brands. That okay, my size is not available, my body type is not available, what I like is not available. And that's how people are again losing consumers. Now what are the consumers trying to do? What are the retailers trying to do to avoid this? Fill up more stock. Earlier, I would only keep 1 piece. Now I know if somebody else is going, I'll keep 2. I'll keep 3. I'll keep 4. Again, what has gone for a toss? My cash flow, my inventory. Because to run the same store, now I have more number of pieces to do the same business. What will I do? I'll again get stuck. Again, my cash flow goes for a toss. Again, I'm looking at sales growth. But at cost of what? Because I do not know what the consumer is going to buy. I just have an idea. Correct? Hence, this is the second biggest challenge. The third biggest challenge is the life cycle. Now this, I'll explain it to you with one of the oldest things. We all love footwear, right? Earlier, okay, if you look at footwear 15, 20 years ago, most of us had 1 or 2 footwear. One was leather for office work, the other was, let's say, a bit of sports, and that's it. Most of the functionalities were covered. Today, even men have 7 to 8 different pairs of shoes for different occasions, okay, for different purposes. Earlier, if a leather product would be introduced, the same product would continue for 5 years. Okay. Today, there is no product that we live in the Zara model, which is a fast fashion model, where we do not want to see the same product after 4 months. Okay, we work with some great footwear players, okay, in the country who have more than 2,000 locations, and even they say that we want a 10% freshness every month, which means by the end of the year, the last January and this January, everything should be churned. Now imagine, okay, who's putting this pressure? Partly it's consumer, partly it is us. Why? Because this is how we want to represent the brand. Okay, we want to follow the trend that, okay, I want to always give newness. Now, again, think it from the step of a retailer. My existing merchandise is not moving, but I have convinced myself I need freshness. I'll again put more freshness. What will I do for whatever is lying around? Either I'll pull back and keep it in the warehouse and wait for an end of season sale, okay, or I'll discount it and sell. Again, what is it impacting? Bottom line. Why? Because the entire process is such that we are stuck in that cycle that how do I manage a 4-week cycle? How will I manage? Now, a lot of times I'll tell you second challenge, okay? These decisions are centrally made. Let's say I have 10 locations, okay, and I have one central warehouse. The central team will decide we'll follow the fast fashion model, okay? Now the top stores, 3 to 4 stores, they are okay because they are getting business. They have any good sell-through, they can play with it. What about the stores that are little underperforming? They are the ones who lose the most because 6 months earlier and 6 months later, if you look at the stock turns, if you look at the effectivity, it has all gone for a toss because of a decision that has taken centrally. We do not give credit to the C grade stores or a B grade or little underperforming. Now, why do they underperform? One might be because of competition, 2 might be because of location, 3 also might be because of the population visiting the store, which the store manager or cannot do much about it. And because of these things, the store's profitability takes a further hit. Okay? And this is exactly the reason why, this is exactly the cycle each and every one of us go through again and again, which causes disruption. Okay? Now here I would love to stop. Okay? And I want to listen your stories, okay, as well, to understand, do you think, whatever I'm sharing, are you aligned with it? How are you trying to tackle it? Okay? Because obviously I have a solution that will help you understand how we look at it. But before that, I would love to have, know each one of you as to how you look at this story and what you are doing or you think you should do to ensure that these disruptions do not impact. Would you love to share? Anyone? It can be any vertical. You can be, like sir from jewelry can share about what happens in jewelry. Apparel can share what happens in apparel. Anyone. It would be great if you could guys contribute so that then we can move a little ahead. Thank you. I don't need the plate. Thank you.
My name is Shankar. I'm from Vivek. We deal with electronics, CDIT.
Okay.
So I can relate to the chroma model, what you were talking about. We do have a challenge, and that's one is we sell standardized products. We don't manufacture anything. They're obviously comparable, and they're Googleable. You can find the price on Amazon or any brand website.
Correct.
So when a customer comes, definitely, while we can increase the availability of bestsellers to ensure it's there, on price affordability, there's a problem.
Correct.
And therefore, we're always telling our team that you will have to search for profits, and if you can't, convert to profitability models.
Correct.
And if you can't, then obviously sell to what the customer wants.
Correct.
How do we address that?
Fantastic. How many of you have the similar challenge? Anyone facing the same challenge? Okay. So let's try to understand the pricing of the electronics model. Okay. In electronics, no matter what brand, be it Amazon or anything, they operate on bulk buying, okay, which gives them a much better margin. And second, they focus on more availability as well. Okay, availability plus options. Now, online it is much easier because you don't have to carry real stock. You have 24 to 48 hours lead time. Even if you do not have, you can manage and deliver. But when it comes to running a store, we cannot do that. Okay. Now, the answer to this, Mr. Shankar, is not a straightforward answer. If I ask you how much inventory do you hold, which is more than 180 days old, whatever number comes into mind, that's where the answer is. Because, understand, because of these steps initially, okay, because of more personalization, because of tolerance time, we have built the store in a structure where we are holding more inventory, which is already blocking your cash flow. Okay, so in the theory of constraints, what we talk about is in every category, the availability game should be played only for bestsellers. Only for bestsellers. Our eye should be tuned to look and identify bestsellers at category level, not only at the store level. Now, when I say this, I'll tell you the biggest challenge. When I'm looking at bestsellers, I know my bestsellers from my 25 stores. But do I know my bestseller from a store which is at, let's say, TN Nagar? Okay, we miss the ball game there. Because a bestseller in one store might be a slow mover in other store. Because the product is performing across in my dashboard, see, this is where data fools us. Okay, because it is giving me a number that the product is doing well. There's no wrong in it. But it is not doing good in this store. And I'm keeping those products here in this store. And that's how my inventory goes up more than 180 days without selling. Now, when I do not have that, what do I do? I compromise on my selling price. Now, if I start playing that game well, if I start focusing much on bestsellers and start choking slow movers effectively, automatically my inventory merchandise at a location improves. Now comes a very important question. Is it doable for a merchandiser to have that level of precision? It's very difficult. Because even if you have 25 stores, okay, just 25, it's a small number of stores with, let's say, 1,000 to 2,000 unique pieces, that's 50,000 combinations. It's impossible to do it manually. So hence, the standard process, what people do is they pick the top 20% products globally and they take bets on that. And that's where we do not realize where we have increased inventory and where we have reduced. And that's why in certain stores, it will happen that they want the product, but they're comparing at that price. Now imagine if I give you a lever that tells you for each store, you know what are your best sellers and you're only going to order in it. You can take a better bet on it. You can buy a little more in bulk and you'll be more confident to bet on it. So that's where, so the answer is not very simple. The answer is at the other end. That because of my certainty, understand, it is all a closed loop. I do this, this increases. Okay, it's my action in one direction will take the action in another direction. I'll give you one more example, okay, to adjust to it better. A lot of times, okay, we set certain processes, like let's say replenishment. And a lot of times we don't replenish it regularly. Like we decide every week it should go once. This week we will suddenly decide, no, it's okay, we'll not send once. Why? Because let's say the sales are down or whatever. It can be multiple reasons that have happened. But do you know that one decision, there might be a lot of products which could have capitalized and you could have released, we did not because of that decision. So a lot of it, and that's actually my next slide, that a lot of times it is about both my effective, how many things I'm doing effectively and what is my efficiency in doing those things effectively. Okay? So I'll come to more to that. So apart from this, anyone has any similar challenge?
Do we need a mic? Or?
I don't know. They have given, I thought better to use it. Yeah.
So I represent Sarana Stores. My name is Sunil Kurian. We are Super Sarana Stores. We are located in about 6 locations with a lot of, we have recently started in Madurai as well as in Coimbatore. Now, unlike what Shankar was saying, we also have a problem of, an opportunity of plenty and a problem of plenty. That's the way I will term it in terms of, yes, all your challenges affect us. But I would say the way to look at it is something which is constant. It's
Correct.
There's nothing that is where I can set a process and say this process stays. Apart from certain basic activities, it would depend on what is it that you want to play on, or rather, how many brands do you want to keep, or how many non-brands do you want to keep? We certainly deal with a lot of non-brands as well, right? That's one part of it. And the other most important part, which we all seem to be missing, is how do I ensure the customers continue to walk in?
Correct.
That makes a difference to all of this. That's where I will leave it.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
Like I said, it's a problem of plenty. It's an opportunity of plenty.
I agree.
Right? In terms of, I would want a lot of variety, but I would also want a lot of people coming in to look at that variety.
Correct.
Otherwise, my keeping the variety is going to affect me.
Correct.
Similarly, seasonal. I would preferably want seasons to be there every day in my store. Right?
Correct.
And for all of which, I'll have to ensure there are walk-ins. So it might not necessarily, this is important, but there's something else which is.
I agree. I agree.
I'll leave it.
Perfect. So, I'll tell you our school of thought here. Okay, this is firstly perfectly, because at the end of the day, retail is all about traffic. If I have people, that's when I'll be able to sell. I'll walk you to the next slide and I'll address this. Okay. So, to address merchandise management, we have two simple points. One is called efficiency of the merchandise, which is doing the things right. And the other is effectiveness about doing the right things. Okay. It's a very simple logic to it. Okay. So let me understand what is efficiency of merchandise. Okay. Now, what do I want? Now, how many of you feel that you can control the walk-ins today? It's very difficult. No matter where you are, I come from Mumbai. So even there, people have the same challenge. If I go to Bangalore, that's the same challenge. If I go to Delhi, it's the same challenge. The walk-ins have reduced. Okay, and there are multiple reasons for it. A lot of people in Mumbai hate the traffic, hence they do not want to go to stores. Second, places like Mumbai have, these dark stores operate at a level where undergarments to a lot of other things are available in 7 to 12 minutes. Why will they? Those purchases were earlier made in those stores, which are today made online. So that is one challenge that has to be addressed. Okay, but what am I looking at? And this is my question to all of you, if year on year, even if just using or managing inventory effectively, if I add 3% more, or let's say up to 5%, whatever number you think is good, is it good enough? And that is where we are looking at. Okay, because the bigger challenge is something that a lot of other, things can come into place. Okay, like today, there's a brand called Snitch, which started online, and today it is, so their story is different. They're doing good online, they're doing good offline, both. Okay, exactly. So now, how did they manage? How did they, by the way, we work with Snitch as well. What is it that they are doing different? They did product innovation. And they only focused on their age group, that age band which is growing good in India. They're getting the fruits of it. So every brand and every organization has their own logic. But let's understand why we focus on merchandise management, or why we choose to talk about this. Okay, let's understand from efficiency of merchandise. Now, when I walk into a store, I am a walk-in for a store. The goal of the salesperson is to convert. Okay. Now, to do that, what is the first thing that I need? My need assessment should be such that whatever I am here to buy, okay, I am here to buy a product in a price range that I am comfortable with, by looking at equal options to convert. That's my goal when I go into any store. Even let's say I want to buy a shirt. So I'll go to a store which has shirts, which will give me enough options in my budget, and I'll select one to whatever number and I'll come out. That's the conversion that we're looking at. Okay. Now, how often are we focusing on trying to think whether my best seller for that store is always available? Number one. Second, are they available in the right quantity? Now, when I'm saying best seller to apparel, footwear, it is going at size level. Okay. To electronics, it can stop at model level. To jewelry, it can be at category price band level. Price band, weight band level. Okay, for jewelry, it can be at that level. Now, why these three lenses are important? Why this assortment is important? Is because now why this assortment will help me. I know I have to run a store of, let's say, 20,000 square meters, okay, square feet, and I have 10 categories. My budget remains the same to run the entire store. It's 2 crores to run the entire store. Now this 2 crores I have to give to shirts, I have to give to saris, I have to give to this, XYZ, okay. Now when I'm giving, okay, if I get a lens or a signal that whatever I'm offering in saris is in surplus, I don't need because this category is not performing, I can reduce this, and I get a signal that my shirts is doing excellent. Okay, if I want to give more, I'll give more in shirts and less in saris. If you start getting this meter month on month, or let's say every quarter, or let's say every 6 months, don't you feel you are automatically responding or being more relatable to the consumer walking in? Right? Why? Because the store that you have has the same budget. You cannot play with the budget. Okay? You have to work on the signals that you receive. So if I say in my efficiency, I look at my bestseller management, I look at my slow movers management, I look at ensuring that a pick list is generated every week. If I'm looking at ensuring that if I'm doing a pullback, the pullback is executed within 7 days. All of this is my efficiency, where I am adhering to a process. Now, like sir said, processes will always be defined with boundary conditions. What process I define today might not be applicable 6 months down the line. Those boundary conditions have to be defined. Okay, so processes is within your role. Like today, as an organization, you decided to focus on fast fashion. So the boundary conditions change. That my priority is, fast fashion. Now 6 months down the line, the management decides we are enough with fast fashion. Now let's focus on something else. Now the moment my boundary condition change, the processes should change. Okay, so I first define the processes and adhere to it. When I adhere to efficiency in this, even if I achieve 90, this is our reading from the retailers that we have worked like Max and even if you adhere to 90% plus efficiency, you'll make it. You'll see the impact immediately. Okay, then comes the effectiveness. Now what does the effectiveness means? If the product that you thought was going to be a fast mover is a slow mover, an immediate action to change, to have that flexibility. That I introduce these many products, let's say, this is something we do for jewelry, by the way. So let's say I introduce a product, and this we do at category level, okay? Chain is a fast seller comparatively. So a chain is not selling for 45 days, okay? My efficiency is all right. I'm replenishing best sellers and everything. But I got a signal that after 45 days also this product is not moving. I'll move to effectiveness and I'll say my merchandise is not effective. This is converting into a slow mover. Let me take an action immediately, identify where this product is selling well and remove it. Now what am I doing? I'm artificially creating a gap. I'm fulfilling the requirements of the store, of the merchandise by using what I have already spent money in buying, rather than buying something new again for some other store. Now, a lot of times this feels like effort. I'll not deny. Okay, I have to send somebody. But in that also, if you put science and you put a process that I'll do this once every 15 days, once every this, and I'll ensure 70 to 80% of it is transferred or moved, you'll see results. There's a women's wear brand in India which runs around 70 stores. In last 1 year, just through inter-store transfers, they added 6 crores worth of sale, which is 5% of their total sales. Now, here's the best part. Out of this 6 crores, 60% was sold at full price. So for them, that full price sell-through increased just by identifying that the product in my Kormangala store is not selling well, but it is doing good in HSR. That visibility or that effectiveness of merchandise, they only focus on one metric, that is achieving 75% execution of ISTs. That's it. That if we create issue an IST, we will motivate our team to ensure 75% is executed. That's the only goal they focused on. And this year, their goal is to take that to 85%. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because both these parameters are very important to have the right merchandise mix in the store. Now, like I said, I decided, read the market, basis the market, I've done the purchase. Now, my only challenge is to ensure it is available at the right place at the right time so that I can get a sale. And the moment I realize that the demand is reducing, I need to have the flexibility to move. I need to have the flexibility to say, okay, this, and if you look at it from this lens, what will you learn is you'll learn that you're not increasing, you're not putting same money to the store. You're taking smarter, you're taking effective decisions on the store. And like sir said, the boundary conditions will define the processes. It does not need to remain static. It can be dynamic as and how the organization's goal towards a particular product or a goal changes. Okay. Now to show this, I'll give you one more slide which shows how we look at it from the Onebeat's perspective. When an engine like Onebeat sits on the top of the system, how do we do it? Okay. It might look a very complex slide, but just stay with me. Okay. Now, if you see, like I said, there were three engines of disruption. We spoke about the range, we spoke about the tolerance time, and we spoke about life cycle. Okay, how do we address all three of it on a day-to-day basis? Firstly, we begin with the most basic functionality, which is the most underrated functionality, which is replenishment. A lot of times we feel, okay, when the Goldratt philosophy came into function, we earlier promoted that replenishing every day is good. But then we realized in India, not everybody is capable of doing. There are brands who still do replenishment every day, but then replenishing once a week is also doable within the Indian environment. Now, when we start doing replenishment, what does the engine do? Okay, with the tool like Onebeat, it identifies performance at an SKU level, SKU location level. So the same shirt in Kormangla store and the same shirt in HSR layout might have different, performances. One place it might be a bestseller, the other place it might be an average mover. Now, what is the action that you need to take? The action is, if it is a bestseller, increase availability. Give more SKUs so that you have more, because you have bought the same, the buy is limited. And if it is a tail SKU, start choking it immediately. You might have sent excess environment, even if a product is sold, don't. Now, why this small action helps? Because in your best sellers, availability increases across all your locations. Okay, now why this engine is very strong? So if you might have heard of a global company called Blue Yonder or a JDA, okay, it's a very popular brand globally. Okay, it is owned by Panasonic, okay, and Panasonic uses Onebeat for replenishment, okay, in Japan. So that's the strength of the machine learning or AI algorithms that we have developed only for this just one feature, I'm saying. Okay, in that's the level of technology or precision we have received. And we do this for jewelry, we do this for footwear, we do this for apparel, we do this for each and every environment except grocery at the moment in India. We haven't explored enough. We have taken a pilot project with a brand from Kolkata. We'll soon get to know how it does, but we know because our product needed certain modifications for a grocery set of environment. Hence, we avoided. But apart from,
If I may ask, what was your challenge?
so in jewelry, the combination of batch number and expiry is
Grocery. Why are you not?
grocery, batch number and expiry. Because there are products that are 3 months old, there are products that are expired in 2. Now, if I look from an inventory perspective, I'll say don't throw it out. It might sell, but then you might have a bad experience. So we had not developed that feature back then.
Basically, it's a multiple expiry.
Exactly. So within the same product, I have multiple batch numbers and multiple. So we did not develop it. And usually we used to work with pharma, but pharmacies used to still have a longer expiry date. They used to have minimum 6 months. So it was doable there. But in grocery, so because of that, we never touched groceries. That upgrade is finally done. We have started a first pilot in Kolkata. It's functioning. Once it goes live, we have some results. We'll start touching other. But for now, we didn't touch the grocery segment. Once the replenishment is taken care of, what am I doing? I'm taking care of my best sellers. That always my best sellers are available, my bellies, which are second best sellers, are available. Once this is done, I move to stage 2. What is stage 2? My assortment, my offering. Now, I'll tell you the beauty in Onebeat. We allow you to put a number saying that at any given point of time, only this must be the uniqueness in a store in a particular category. Which means, let's say I'm taking a very basic example, shirts. If I can tell the system in TN Nagar, a store in shirts should only have, in solids, should only have 5 colors. So Onebeat will ensure 5 options will come what may happen. Now, what will Onebeat study? Yeah.
So this replenishment of model, this model what you are mentioning about this 5 colors which is there, and what happens is, if few colors of that, say all the 5 or top 5 colors, that's the reason we have kept it there. And if that is selling, and you will keep on replenishing the same color. So this is one challenge which we are also seeing it. Okay. Say these 5 colors doing well, so keep pushing the same
No.
5 colors.
No, okay. So I'll come to that. So what we do, there are 2 things in it, okay? Because we understand freshness is equally important.
Right. And multiple colors.
Exactly.
And
So
many colors.
exactly. So we address that through life cycle management, but I'll come to that, okay? But I'll take your question. Let's say I set it up. Now this is taking care of my size level SKUs or SKU location level performance. This is taking care of my freshness. So if I say 5 options available, firstly it will ensure 5 unique options are always available. Now let's say jewelry has a challenge. What is that challenge? That when I am saying 5 options, okay, one option has already become a slow mover. What do I do about it? Because one option is not moving. Like you said, even in apparel, I give 5 colors, one color is not moving at all. What action can I take in it? That's why we have life cycle management, where we automatically squeeze that option. We say convert this to 0 and move it into a store where it might be doing it well. Now the first level is, if there is a store where that product is selling well now, imagine it's like your product is entering the store with a timer. Okay, that it has spent 60 days, it has not worked, it will go to a store where that category or that color has worked. Okay, now what did I do? I created an artificial gap in the environment. Now, when I'm replenishing again, allocating again, will the store give the same product? No, it will automatically give a fresh product. Because the store now knows that this product did not do well in this environment, why keep inventory here? But in the same shirts, solids, I have one more color. Okay, now here you can be more creative. You can define region level best colors. Okay, so if a region level best color has never been introduced into the store, it will introduce. Okay, it will be creative and it will pull something that is doing well. So that again, what happens? You have introduced freshness by active merchandise management. Yeah, by system, it is both. So there are environments like Tanishq, okay, jewelry environments, who have a huge options. Now there in jewelry, at times some stores, some locations want ruby, some locations want emerald. Now the same design is into multiple colors. So there, if the store manager can select, Onebeat will recommend these are the options you can buy, you can select. But for apparel, they don't go into that much detail. They can give us some boundary conditions. Like they can say, ki ensure ki if you are selling solids, give dark solid first. Then if that is not available, soft and so on. So you can make those boundary conditions. In apparel, it is all automated. So the moment a gap is introduced, Onebeat will replenish that gap. Okay. Then it comes to, then there is life cycle. Now another way of life cycle is inter-store transfers. Again, this works brilliantly for jewelry and for footwear. Now if you want, if a product has spent, let's say 90 days in a store and is not selling, immediately take an action. Now that action can be anything. The action can mean a notification to merchandisers that these list of products are not doing well, liquidate it. Because in an apparel environment that we work with, they created a complete model. So they wanted to work on a 16-week model. That any product they introduce should be out of the system within 16 weeks, which is 4 months. Now, yeah.
Before this, actually,
Yeah.
there is a issue
That can be done. Now, see, that's an additional process that has to be built within the ecosystem from here. The tool cannot tell that. For the tool, it is data. Our point of reference is the product is available so many days, it has not sold. Now, why it has not? Now, I'll give you an example here to add. There's a jewelry company that we work for. Okay. Now, in jewelry, they look at barcode scanning. How many times the barcode has been scanned. They use that reference to check, is that a challenge before taking that decision.
What also happens is if your jewelry is not on display,
Hmm.
if it is kept inside the store, not a customer that doesn't even get a chance to look into it.
Correct.
It shows up a terrible data.
I know. So that's why we said, that's why we look for jewelry, we look at barcode scanning. See, again, these are all add-ons, okay? This can happen to outliers that you might had a good design which could have sold, which was not shown else. But for 80% of the cases, the product does not make sense. So it is good to follow. Now those additional features you can definitely add. Like I said, this the jewelry company which is Madurai based, they did this action and they are doing good with it. They use a barcode scanner to check whether before moving, whether that product was shown enough to the consumer. That's a metrics that now, how can you be more creative in identifying this? That is something that we can work together on once the basic thing is set. After life cycle management, we look at your range effectiveness. Okay, this comes again to my point, sir, that if I have offered 5 options and they are not effective for my consumer, why should I offer 5? Can I reduce? Can I keep it 4? Because I know my shirts are not moving. On the contrary, if I know my saris are doing good, can I increase the range? Because I know it can get more benefit. Now, with this range effectiveness, automatically, what am I doing? I am challenging the store, okay, to do better. Now, the deduction, we create a matrix. Every 6 months for jewelers, whoever we work for, we calculate what is your range effectiveness at a weight band level, and we show them. This is your reality. Okay, now there, like sir said, you might want to take a visual merchandising decision, you can take that. Okay, if you want to take a, some other sort of a decision, you can take. Okay, but in case you feel that the visual merchandising is good and everything is good, my display is good, and I want to take a call, you took a call immediately. So you're cutting down on what you already have. Okay, and you're increasing more in places where you'll get more opportunity. Now, how does this benefit? Is automatically your slow movers in that store, in that category reduces. So what you're again trying to do is you're again trying to focus on offering the right effectivity. To answer your question, sir, ki the consumer coming into my store has more of what he needs. Simple. To get a better conversion. Then once that is done, it is completely linked to your OTB control. Yes, sir.
Out of all your clients, what is the maximum SKU level range that you have worked?
SKU level as in 5.5 crores line items every day, which is pantaloons and metro shoes.
Pantaloons and metro shoes. Okay. Pantaloons are 5.5 crore.
Yeah. Store SKU combination. Store level SKU combination. So
Non-store?
non-store I would not know, because for us we look at the decision is at the end of the day taken at SKU location level. So for us that total number matters. I think Tanish will soon be around 6.5 crores. So we'll keep increasing. Okay. Then we come to OTB control. Now what is OTB? This all is in one store. So you can cap your budgets. You can say, like if it is jewelry, you can say that this store should not have more than X kgs of gold. Tool will ensure that it is maintained. It will only showcase a gap where it has a position. Now, to answer a lot of questions, people ask this, okay, there is a gap. A bestseller is not available, okay, and there are certain slow movers in the store. The norms are not met. Should we raise a purchase order? We say yes. Why? Because if I keep choking my bestsellers without raising a PO because of my past decisions, then the store performance will fall further. Okay, so we recommend that you give the order for best sellers, even if, because in the initial setup, this is a very common thing. Because we do the range effectiveness, we know all the stores, so there's no gap. How will we raise an order? Because whatever is there is ineffective. So then we create these artificial systems initially, but then it all, is to that control. So even one SKU is not added extra. Once that control, and that control is at category. And then you can take it to your vendor level management as well. So there are certain brands where we even manage the vendors. Like a couple of jewelry clients have so many vendors to buy a chain from. So we can do a proper vendor management as well on the tool basis, the performance, and automate the ordering as well, where Onebeat automatically selects the vendor. All the person has to do is approve. So that approval procedure is still with the user. But apart from that part, apart from this order management part, the warehouse thing and all is completely automated.
Do you suggest base stock for a jewelry or any business?
Yes, once we learn enough, not immediately. Immediately, we might recommend a range that, looking at your last 6 months data, this is the range that you need to begin with. Later on, it is then once we have data, once we see how it is working, then we can do it. It is so. This is again a bias that we are trying to break. The bias is performance. How much stock I need to keep in the store, because people always tell us, I have this much display capacity, I need this much stock.
See, that is where this apparel thing, apparel thing comes out is you already set up a display capacity for a certain, only you can store only shirts, you can store only trousers or something like that. So it becomes all the more important to set up a
So,
base
sir,
stock
I'll tell you, I can, introduce you to our team who will share organizations who have challenged it, started using props without impacting the store performance. Okay, so it is just a mindset. It's the bias in the mind. Because see, it's a vicious cycle. I'm giving more stock, I'm not getting more sale. I'm giving even more stock, I'm not getting more sale. It's a cycle which will never end. So what this brand did, two brands did that, they started introducing props. There will be a suitcase that nobody wants to buy, but there is a prop instead of using that. So intelligently, when they start doing it, there are multiple things that can be done to ensure that this thing does not happen. Okay?
Chinmay,
Yes.
I am from jewelry industry. I wanted to understand how it works, your solution works in terms of min-max for jewelry.
So for jewelry, min-max, it's automated. There's no min-max in the system. So the algorithm automatically predicts. In jewelry, this min-max is only applicable for chains, rings, to a certain extent bangles. Because the rest, everything is usually one. At time, and all jewelry companies mostly replenish almost
No,
every day.
no,
Sorry.
no, no.
Okay.
There are many which needs that, even
Okay.
in the silver,
Hmm.
articles.
Silver, yes.
Like chains. These
Yes,
have
yes.
multiple
Chains,
units.
yes. That's why I said chains,
Yeah.
rings, bangles,
Yeah.
yes.
Earrings, studs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all these. Yeah.
So
how it works in that way?
So Onebeat factors, the algorithm factors three parameters. Number one is demand.
Okay.
Number two is the inventory penetration when it happens. Like, is one person came and bought three at once. Okay, such transactions it identifies whether it is data, noise, all these things. And second is your supply chain. How frequently do you replenish? So considering that, it comes a prediction.
In 92.5 items, it's a huge market.
Yes.
And how we should maintain the inventory for that? Because there's a lot of designs there.
Yeah.
In 92.5, if we go for a purchase, it's a huge range. We can't stop. In chain, if in gold chain, there's only 50 model or 60 model or 70 model. But in 92.5, it's not like that. How will manage on that?
See, again, everything, I'll have to see the data to answer your question, but the logic is, yes. Yeah.
You said some jewelry industry in Coimbatore.
Yeah, Madurai, Thangamayil. Yeah.
So how they are using it?
So, see, I wanted to show you this is their basically results. Okay. Now, what we usually do, okay, firstly, the results say that how the inventory norms reduced over time. I'm sorry, I could not zoom in more. How the inventory norms reduced by 24% over a period of almost 18 months. Now this is where it is an opportunity, okay? Now when we began with them, okay, we did range effectiveness and we realized almost 221 kgs of gold, okay, was surplus according to our learnings. Now why is it surplus? Because they have offered a range, but those products do not have a sale with respect to the range that they have, okay? Now consistently they took actions to it. They did, because they had 28 stores back then and 28 stores were run at 1000 kgs of gold approximately. So at that point of time, we initially started doing inter-store transfers, that okay, this category weight band is not performing here, but that is doing there. We started, then we started choking those categories that okay, do not buy more, and so on. By doing this, eventually we came after 18 months to a level where the 221 kgs came down to almost like 50 kgs. So 150 kgs of gold, they did not need to run the same stores. Okay, now coming to your point, so what we do, this data that we do is, if I can show, yeah. So this at each, we define category, we define an assortment. We call it in our language an assortment group. So like you said, the designs might be multiple, but we define that assortment in assortment or price band or weight band group. Okay, and then we decide what is the options, how many options should I offer. So the lock will be on the number of options. Like you said, in chains, 50 to 60 is the challenge of the entire assortment. Okay, I cannot offer because there are no more options in it. But in your case, even if there are more options, I need to restrict because I know I cannot sustain more than that. So we create those unique category options and we try to learn from that every month, that which category is doing better, we'll pull more, which category is doing bad, we'll start choking it. And accordingly, the entire inventory is distributed. So it might begin, initially you might feel that, okay, I can only offer 50 options, that's not fair, I have more and everything. But once you start identifying, okay, see, what is the goal of usually inventory? How much predictability I can bring into my merchandise? Okay, because if I want to grow, I want to make more predictable. How can I make more predictable? I know, if I do not know the SKU that is selling well, at least I know the category weight band that is selling well. So I'll offer more because my consumer is coming and buying this without any issue. So we learn from these different things and accordingly we measure. So if you see here, initially the same category had this much surplus, this much was okay, and this much was shortage, which means out of stock. But as we reached here, the surplus reduced to only 11%, the out of stock was 0, and okay inventory was almost 89 to 90%. Okay, now this is not an immediate impact. This is a good impact of around, because jewelry is a slow moving environment. Okay, it is not something that will click immediately, and so on. Similar results we have for, we showed Thangamayal. This is for a fast fashion environment where the sales growth was almost 6.6% growth, wherein we had promised them 5. Okay, so this was a consulting engagement, so we did a lot with them. Second, in terms of inventory turns, store level. Yeah.
This inventory is per store inventory or overall inventory?
This yes, this is store level. Sorry, this is gold overall level. This is for Thangamayal, yes, entire level. Okay, that if you could see bad stock reduction, so that is where the maximum contribution came from. In terms of fashion, store level inventory turns, the best selling stores moved from 8 to 11, and 4.6 to 5.1 is the overall, including the warehouse capacity and everything. So again, now what you need to understand is both these organizations alignment to norm was around 90%. Okay, the goal is how much, because they'll come up with some marketing techniques to increase orders. They'll come up with, there will always be outliers. But within that outliers, how much more you can contribute and make it more effective is where the results lie. Okay?
Chinmay, I have a, rather I would say, it's more of a question which plagues us a lot. It's a problem statement.
Okay.
This is good, right? We can have examples, we can have be made. We have those execution issues. The challenge is this would all depend on the data that is available, the
Correct.
sanctity of data that is
Correct.
available. So the first step we would all probably want to do is to sanctify your data, because
Correct.
base data itself could be wrong.
Correct. Correct.
What is elephant might be horse.
Correct. 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 I agree.
All of us might know about
True.
that. And then the skill levels to match, or rather to make people understand this is what
Hmm.
we will do. That's the execution part is where I have a question.
Correct.
We might get these models set in place. The models might throw out
Amazing results.
hundreds of exercises that you want to do.
Correct.
But when you get onto the ground, like I said, I'm from Calcutta. The guy is just with standard,
Correct.
right? Or he might not even know to read or write.
Correct.
So give me an answer. For
Yeah. So firstly, welcome to the challenge. it's
When you say that Tangamil was able to do that 90% alignment to work, that is precisely.
No, I agree. I completely agree. So that is, let me give you an example. So when you are saying about data sanctity, years ago, around when we started our first project with Titan Tanishq, even there, despite being so organized, the data sanctity was not more than 80%. So I'm coming to it. The challenge is when you get into any change management initiatives, okay, it cannot be driven, it has to be driven from the top. It has to be driven with support. Now, that is why these were consulting engagement that lasted 2 to 3 years, where we had people from our team sit there and get the work done. Okay, now that level of engagement, if you are looking for, we are capable of delivering. The challenge is, are you looking for that level of, because I'll tell you where it comes from. If I go and tell today anybody that, okay, I want to do inventory optimization, okay, and the investor boards are looking at sales growth, it's a lot of times it does not map within. It needs understanding to say that, okay, this walks hand in hand. That's when, most of the clients who have adopted better come from. So my answer to this is very simple, that every organization that recently we did work with a jeweler from Madhya Pradesh, DP Abhushan. It's again a listed company. Okay, 2 years ago when we started, me and Rahul met. At that point of time, he said, Chinmay, my challenge is my buying is only happens in Ratlam. Will you go there? Will you travel? Which is similar challenge. Today it is centralized in Mumbai. Why? Because when the owners took toll, they stepped in at every level. They allowed us to be there, allowed us to follow. It took 16 to 18 months for a 11-store retailer delivering 3,000 crores a year to change. But that's the price, that's a bet that an organization who's willing for that transformation has to take.
How many years did you say? 3 years.
11 months to, now it is 2.5 years. So their stock prices have gone up 4 times, because it shows on your books that your cash flow is improving, your aged inventory is reducing, and so on. So all those organizations have taken that plunge. That first initial, because I'll tell you, I met last event, I met someone from IT team of Sarva. His first question was, Chinmay, my challenge is data. And I was telling to sir as well, that in India, blue is written as BLUE, BLUEE, BLEU. And that's the sanity check everybody has to do. We had to do this with Shoppers Stop. It took 4 months of our entire effort to just streamline inventory at Shoppers Stop. And imagine these are organizations who had invested in good technology and people, like you say, but still these mistakes happen. So that's the first step that any organization has to take, and that's it. More of comes from intent, that if the organization's intent is to deliver that much level of transformation and change, it can happen. So that's where it is. And once it all has to fall into alignment, it's like that habit. You do this for 1 month, then everybody starts getting aligned to it. Second, you start seeing results, you're more motivated to do this. So when we implement as well, we do not begin with everything together. We start with first replenishment and this, and slowly get into it.
Since we are back on this slide,
Yeah.
can you give me an example of, or rather, Two examples of the prop you were talking about. You
Uh,
spoke about props.
So this was first done with, I think, Louis Philippe or Alan Solly, one of the two. So they were the ones who first started using to reduce shirts. So there was a store that used to run in 2,400 pieces. Okay. And since Onebeat came, the store would not receive more than 2,000 pieces. So definitely there was a challenge that the store is looking empty, but the sales number did not see any change. So then they, whatever number they were delivering with 2,400 pieces of inventory, they were delivering with less. So now what to do? How to be creative? That's how some visual merchandising team said that, why can't we be a little more creative? Let's keep a suitcase. Let's keep this, let's keep that. And that's how they became creative with all the stores that started doing well. So that was one. The second was with a value format retailer from the Landmark Group. They also tried doing something similar, which helped in only underperforming stores, not all the stores. Because this challenge comes mostly in underperforming stores or underperforming category, where the category is not doing well and you have to force it to align to display. Else, it won't usually happen. Any further questions? So, we would love to discuss more. Okay, I think we are out of time. We have a booth. You can have I have given my cards to everyone. So we can be in touch. And if on the way walking out, if I could love to have cards of each so that we can keep in touch and take things forward.